A disappointing night for the Hamilton contingent. One-way traffic for the vast majority of the proceedings here tonight. A much different performance here in the second leg, but a similar outcome. Final score from Monterrey is Rayados 3, Forge 0, and 5-0. The tie finishes on aggregate as well. Welcome inside our temporary One Soccer studios. Gareth Wheeler, Jordan Wilson with you. Forge did show some signs of life here tonight. I guess a similar story in a way where they had some chances. They simply didn't take them, but the difference in terms of execution in the final third ends up costing them again on this night.
Yeah, it's tough, Wheels. Like when you're looking at tournament football, specifically when you have a leg one and leg two, and if you can't put the ball in the back of the net, you can't dream of going on. Then you add on the component of playing Monterrey, who is able to score goals and big ones at that, and that we're honored tonight at home. I mean, this was an uphill battle, and it got even tougher just the way that Ford started the night today.
I just, look, the cards are stacked against them. It's their second game of the year. Rayados, 6 or 7 games into the close. Playing the Apertura before the turn of the new year, so it's always going to be difficult. I just feel that this Forge group of players, with all the experience in the team, they're going to be disappointed by this result, and that means inevitably by the performance here tonight as well.
You look at this Forge side, and you think they're always there, right? They're playing in Concacaf Champions Cup. This is their 22nd match. They're that team that always plays in these big moments, but there's a lot of new faces, and we're looking at it, and maybe that core is the same, but this is a new experience probably for some players and a learning curve that they're going to take into the season. But look at faces like that, or Brian Wright, right? This is the first time a player of that caliber is experiencing this level and this type of competition. So it's a tough pill to swallow. It's a wound that they're going to have, but hopefully they're better for it.
Yeah, you saw Bobby Smirniotis walking on the field. He has high expectations from his players. I honestly thought that there was another gear to hit tonight. I'm not sure that they reached what he would have expected from this group tonight. I mean, 3-0, you don't want to go get smashed in a game like this. Again, there were good moments, but in the balance of it, I feel this was a starting 11 with a lot of experience, Jordan. I think they use some of these players.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that. I think, too, when you're looking at Forge and the way that they play and they want to keep the ball and possess, the first half wasn't great in terms of holding up the ball and just playing the way that they want. I thought they forced a lot. You could see that they were trying to play that direct ball and get Brian Wright involved, and they know he wants to get the goal, but the Chouanier, the Borges, Babuli, like the names on this squad that can produce a moment for you, I just felt like they were running in quicksand a little bit. It was just an uphill battle for them, and they never really turned that corner.
That is very, very cool, with the Forge players all going over to see the few that made the trip down to Monterrey. I mean, it takes a lot to be a fan, the time, the sweat equity, but paying your dollars and cents right now and what it takes to travel to support your team in a competition like this to kick off their season, well done for the Forge players going over to the fans as well. Here's the updated bracket. It's not potentially the last time we'll see Monterrey versus a Canadian team in this competition. They play the winner of Vancouver Whitecaps and Saprissa. The first leg goes next week, February 20th. The following week, the return leg at BC Place as well. Our Volkswagen moment of the match, it came early in this game, and it kind of felt like it put the tie completely out of reach. It was a goal that came off the set piece in the 19th minute. German Bertarame gets it. A giveaway by Forge. We'll break this down a little bit later on. Borges comes in late for the challenge. I agree with them. Shouldn't have been a caution, but Forge simply punished on the set piece.
Yeah, so it's one of those. I just feel like they want to look back as a team, and we pause it here because that space right there is far too big. And I said it at halftime. When you look at that line, there's basically 3 and then 5 Forge players. There's just a huge hole that Bertarame is able to get up and win the ball over. And this is just a no-no in defending, right? You should also, you see Rama crisscrossing as well. Everyone should have their role and just drop the 3 yards, Wheels. So this is one of those situations. Bobby Smirniotis, David Edgar, everyone who's looking at the coaching staff at Forge, be like, we need to set up better to handle those situations.
I mean, the way that Bertarame not only picked out the space, but picked the corner as well with power and precision. It's a top finish. That's why he's one of the best attacking players right now in Liga MX. And German Bertarame is going to get your performance of the match as well. Scores a brace and also played a part in the second goal as well.
Yeah, he's exceptional. Like, he's showing his worth and his quality. Also, too, when he's getting subbed off as well, you're looking at a guy, this is just a force, Wheels. Like, how do you really stop him? Just a hold-up play, right? The way that he's able to run deep, but he can also finish. Class striker.
I mean, he's 26 years of age. I mean, Jimenez just made the transfer from Feyenoord to AC Milan. He was one cap, but players in Liga MX, they find a way into the national team, and perhaps he can be part of the solution for an attack that needs some more punch on the national team level. Of course, it's Canada, Mexico, and the semifinal of the Nations League as well.
Yeah, find a place to play your football and find your joy and show your worth. And you see there as well, Nimic maybe playing that offside trap. I've been guilty of doing that as well, instead of running with the player and putting a body on him. But Bertrand, he was a handful tonight.
But again, that was a moment. I feel like Forge left themselves way too wide open too many times in this game tonight. Partially the formation. We mentioned it going into this one. Forge is going to try to play you toe-to-toe. In games like this, maybe I just would personally play it safer. I'm not a four-time North Star Cup winning manager, but it would have made sense to me get more players behind the ball because they were left open far too often when the hold-up play wasn't necessarily there.
I think, too, on the third goal, they're just caught a bit in no man's land. Both Becker and I believe Borges try to press. Two players press the same guy, and when they're able to play around, they're just trying to chase. But it's hard. In that type of game, you have to be disciplined, but you also want to go and try to score. That was the third one, the nails in the coffin. But for me, the nails in the coffin after the first goal in this match as well.
Forge is going to be kicking themselves. Yes, I mean, Monterrey, I firmly believe they're one of the favorites to go on and win this competition. There's no shame in losing to a side like this. They scored a goal against Cruz Azul. They scored a goal against Chivas de Guadalajara. They don't do it in this tie. The two chances in the first leg, both of them should have been in the back of the net. Brian Wright was a culprit on one. Culprit and a chance, a wide open opportunity here again tonight. It was in the second half. Looked as though Brian Wright was played in offside. I think on second look, he wasn't offside, and there's VAR in this competition. If he finishes this chance, it's a good goal.
Yeah, he's onside. We pause it there because this is Kyle Becker who just plays the ball around the corner to him. If you look at the right back, 32 right there for Monterrey. For me, that's good enough, Wheels.
Yeah.
I think he's onside.
Me too.
Now, this situation, when you're 1v1 with the keeper, forget about if it's offside or not. You got to put the ball away, right? You see him almost has too much time, a bit tentative. That situation, yeah, it is called offside. I still don't think it is, but it should be buried in the back of the net.
But if he buried that chance, that's why the linesman is slow putting up his flag, because he's allowing the play to continue. That's something that would have been reviewed, and a goal potentially shoulda, woulda, could have been given. It's just another moment where the number 9 that Forge brought in this offseason simply wasn't clinical. I think this is a big question mark heading into the season, and I don't mean to pick on the player because I think he's good. Scored 9 goals last season, the Canadian Premier League's Player of the Year, but the season before, it was a lot of stuff like that, a lot of chances for Brian Wright, but only scoring 2 goals that campaign.
I'll say for players like Brian Wright, Mo Babuli, players like that are coming into the season in February, I'm not worried about them in May or June. I think those type of players, specifically Brian Wright, need a preseason, need the 6-7 weeks to break down the body and build it up. And you can see him. I thought he did well first leg. But tonight, the hold-up play, I don't think he's fit and ready to go and compete. But I know he'll be there when it really matters.
New players coming into this Forge side as well. It was relatively unchanged heading into the previous Concacaf Champions Cup campaigns. Lots of changes this time around. I felt like the attacking players on Forge had a very difficult time against an experienced and really good Monterrey backline. When it came to service to the front three, there were so many times, Jordan, where they lost those one-on-one battles, couldn't hold up the ball, and inevitably lost possession. And it cost them multiple times over the course of the 2 legs as well, including leading to 1 goal here tonight.
It's something Bobby Smirniotis talked about. Last year in their leg when they played Chivas, Benny Batabanga gave away the ball in leg 1 and just cost them. He said you can't give these passes away, these sloppy little passes in the midfield. And you see it here today. Like Mo Babuli's so great at keeping the ball, but just maybe it comes in a bit hot to him. But again, that one situation leads to another one. And then Cortiz's wide open. He has a composer to just put it in. Rama, unlucky, gets a little bit of a deflection from Kalala. But one thing leads to another. But the initial mistake, Wheels, is the fact that there's a giveaway in the middle. Then last week you see in leg 1, Borges plays around the corner. It could have been to Wright, it could have been to Babuli, but again, of course, there's magic right here that is done. But again, it's just playing around the corner and losing that ball. If you lose that ball, teams like Monterrey, teams like Chivas, great teams in Liga MX will punish you and put the ball in the back of their net.
And that's the biggest factor for me, especially when you're playing this formation, the ball has to stick.
Yeah.
And when you're sloppy like that and giving away the ball in moments like that, they were caught wide open. The recovery run's not quite there. This being game number 2 of the season, you're right. One problem leads to another. That's certainly something that Bobby Simeoniotis has to be circling, looking ahead to the April 5th start of the season. That's an area that simply needs to improve.
Yeah, and I think he's frustrated, right? Because he's identified that problem and then saying, hey, we need to nullify it and not repeat it. And then when you do repeat it, you're just like, okay, this is where we're at. They need to be better. So it's something to revisit, and I think only in these type of competitions, that's when it's exploited. When they're playing in the CPL, they might get by with that quality here and there, but these opponents are going to punish you.
A couple good saves in this game. Even Cardenas of Monterrey made a couple saves late as Forge tried to find a late goal in this one. We'll give it to Jassim Khalilat in the 38th minute, saving the great Sergio Canales from distance. Good punch, strong hands from the goalkeeper.
It was a hit. Like the release, the pullback from Canales, like straight, it's going in the top corner. But I thought Khalilat, for the big saves that he needed to make, he was there tonight.
Yeah, the game was still on at that point. That is your all-state save of the match. So Forge fall to Monterrey 3-0. They have about 6 weeks to kind of lick their wounds and get back at it.
Yeah, they need to, and I know they'll be there. Probably take some time to decompress. It's obviously a lot to prepare for these type of matches in the snow, and then you're going to Mexico in the heat to play against a Mexican giant. But I know they'll be there when they start the season in April.
Let's take a look at your full-time stats. There are plenty of chances. I'm actually surprised that the game stayed with just 3 goals scored, to be honest with you. 17 shots to 12. Like, incredible. 8 saves by Khalilat. 5 saves by Khalilat over the course of the game. Forge, interestingly enough, had 53% possession in Hamilton.
Yeah.
And tonight, Monterrey, they made a bunch of changes at halftime. I honestly like when the changes were made by Bobby Simeoniotis. Some of the young players showed some life when they came on late.
Absolutely. I think in this game, too, when you know it's done and dusted, you're playing free, and that's what they did. But, yeah, there's a lot to unpack still with this Forge side.
So 1 Canadian goes down fighting. Another 2 remain standing. One hasn't played yet, and one has an opportunity of a lifetime upcoming on Thursday. We'll look into that next. It's a Concacaf Champions Cup on One Song.
Are you having any fun? What you getting out of living? Who cares for what you've got if you're not having any fun? Are you having any laugh? Are you getting any loving? If other people do, why can't you have a little fun? And have a little fun.
Canadian soccer fans, we're different. We cheer on the Reds while cheering out our motherlands and each other's lands. Soccer is in our hearts. Our roots are on display. Not to divide, but to unite. Because to us, soccer's more than just a game. It's who we are. From coast to coast to coast, it connects us all. Cheers to us. Cheers to the game.
This isn't your first time flying to show support for your team, but it is the first time you use the wrong kind of paint.
It says here you could try mayonnaise.
WestJet, where your story takes off.
For generations, we've put more goodness in so you get a whole lot more out of every single delicious egg. A lot goes into a little at Burnbrae Farms.
They did it. And tonight was a monumental night for that football club and for the sport in this country.
It's Charlie Trafford! Off to celebrate in the snow! Cavalry are level! Moosey hangs it high. Herman heads it over. Warshevsky! An absolute goal!
The second leg, could they do it?
They have everything to play for in a week's time.
Do we really have any choice at all? Everyone has a choice, and every choice has a consequence.
Which do you choose?
Life's full of tough choices, isn't it?
How do you choose?
Does enough to disrupt and prevent the clearance, and there's plenty of numbers. Moosey hangs it high. Herdman hands it over. Wojciechowski! An absolute goal!
Wow, Adam, what did we just see from Tobias Wojciechowski?
The Cavalry are riding high right now, coming off that historic 2-1 victory. The Cowboys are going down to Mexico City to take on Pumas with a 2-1 aggregate heading into this second leg. In Mexico City, on location for us are Charlie O'Connor-Clark, OC, yeah, you know me, and KJ, and they're standing by with a little bit of a preview.
Christian Jack alongside Charlie O'Connor-Clark here in Mexico City on Tuesday, February 11th. We're 2 days out from a historic game once again as Cavalry FC bring a 2-1 lead to take on Pumas. We're inside the rolling hills of Mexico City at a fabulous Mexican FA training facility. You might be able to hear some of the construction. They're preparing for the 2026 World Cup. Cavalry are preparing for a game in 48 hours, Charlie. You've been around the team for a consistent amount of time now. What are you thinking? What's the mood?
The first word that comes to mind is focused from all the players that I've spoken to. I think last week after Thursday, there's a bit of a celebration. Obviously, they had to acknowledge they'd accomplished something by beating Pumas in that home leg, but now they come here to Mexico. It is all business. You hear the word business trip a lot from all of them. Right. They know that despite what they've accomplished already, they are fully focused on doing it again on Thursday.
Yeah, what an opportunity. I think most of them would have taken being in the tie at the beginning of the game of the first match. Now they're more than in the tie. They're obviously now one of the favorites potentially to get through. They're certainly on the mind of the Mexican media. Yeah. They're everywhere here. Look, it's a national sport. Just spending a little bit of time in your hotel room, football, soccer, whatever your preference, it is everywhere. And Gustavo Lema, the coach of Pumas, is under enormous pressure. A 101-minute goal on the weekend, 90 minutes plus 11 to get a 1-0 victory. There's pressure on him already with his Cavalry being talked about. What are you hearing? What are you thinking from this match?
Yeah. There's clearly a lot of pressure on Pumas. Lema was booed at the match on Sunday, even I think after the game, despite the victory. He spoke in the press after, but he's not sure why they're upset. They won the game, they're in 5th place, but at the end of the day, they have not been playing the football that the fans expect, and I think there's clearly a huge expectation of this team that they get the job done and turn it around on Thursday night, because last week was a bit of a disappointment.
It's a massive game. Catch the coverage starting 7:30 Eastern, 5:30 in Calgary, live on One Soccer on Thursday.
Look at the boys down there in Mexico City, living it up.
The short sleeves.
Yeah, biceps. Both of them working on their biceps. Look, it's about Cavalry flexing their muscles come Thursday night. They're underdogs heading into this game. There's no doubt about that. They put in a dream performance last week. How do they keep that dream alive? What's the blueprint for success come Thursday?
There's a lot to like about what Cavalry did last week. Obviously, the late goal and the fact that they came back. But a word that sticks out to me when I think about this team and what they need to do Thursday is balance. They got the balance right. When to press, when to stay compact, when to do no-nonsense football, which is just clear the ball and step up. Obviously, you can't just absorb for 90 minutes. Wheels, we've been around this game for so long. You know if you just do that Pumas will go and score 3 goals on you. You have to play out the game. However, you don't have to win by 3 goals. You might just need to score an away goal and just really play out the game. So hopefully their leaders that stepped up big last week can kind of just show the way for this team. But but they just have to pick those moments wisely.
I guess that's your path to success, that Tobias Wojciechowski is a difficult player to match up against no matter what. Pumas is a very good defensive side typically. They don't score a lot of goals. There will be fresh blood that's coming in. Adalberto Carrasquilla, formerly of Houston Dynamo, the Panamanian central midfielder, is excellent. But we saw the Monterrey team tonight. It seemed like Monterrey has a lot more attacking options than this Pumas team has.
Yeah, and again, to my point about balance, I thought too, and you mentioned it last week, is like, give them the ball sometimes, right? Say, okay, come take it to us. And I think that attitude of almost just like, okay, let's see what you're going to do. Let's see when you're going to swing, and then you punch, favors Cavalry. But yeah, I think if you're Pumas going into this match, you should be a little bit nervous. This team just scored 2 goals on you. You're expected to win at home and take it to them. This is almost that worst situation to be in when you're a home side. For Cavalry, don't sit back, but absorb that pressure sometimes and be resolute in your defending.
There's reference points here. Like, Cavalry didn't play at home. They played in Langford, British Columbia. So it's not as if there was a distinct home field advantage. Yes, the conditions changed, but the reference points are simply still there. Let's go back down to Mexico City, and Charlie O'Connor-Clark caught up with the captain of Cavalry in Marco Carducci.
I'm joined this morning in the Mexico City sunshine by Cavalry FC captain Marco Carducci. Marco, you guys got here last night ahead of Thursday's Concacaf Champions Cup game. Just start by telling me how exciting it is to be down here and be looking forward to this game.
Yeah, it's extremely exciting. Obviously, this was always going to be an amazing game to play in down here in Mexico City against Pumas. But now, obviously, after the results back at home, we have a little extra to play for. We know there's a lot on the line now, so we're excited to be here and we're looking forward to it.
Just tell me a little bit about the mindset that you guys arrived with. Obviously last Thursday was a massive day for you, huge result for the club, but now you know that there's still a job to do.
Yeah, it's business, and it always was. We were always going into this game with that mentality of saying we're here to get a result and to do our best to advance. And now that we're coming down here up 2-1, we know that we're in a good position. So the test is obviously going to be massive. We're looking forward to it. But it's a business trip, and we're excited for that.
Actually, just lastly on this game, I think it'll go a little bit differently in terms of the conditions. It's obviously a lot warmer here than it was in BC. But what did you maybe learn about playing the Mexican team that you guys have never played before?
I think we got good experience. I said this before from our first go in CONCACAF last year. Obviously, we played Orlando, which MLS team is different. But going into these games where it's about a result, and you're playing against teams that have a ton of talent that can hurt you in any moment in the game. For us, it was really just about playing the way we needed to play to get a result in this game. So we learned a lot in that game. The conditions, like you said, are going to be extremely different than what we expect they'll be on Thursday. But yeah, again, it's that mentality and that collective effort to do what we have to do to win the game or get a result.
Never a quiet moment in Mexico City as a helicopter lands over top of us, but Cavalry FC, second leg against Pumas, Thursday night at, I think, 6 Mountain Time, 8 Eastern, 7 here in Mexico, and watch it on One Soccer.
It's the paparazzi circling over above. Look, I just think about
Talk to me.
The first year that the Canadian Premier League teams were in the Canadian Championship, and Cavalry shocked the Canadian soccer community by upsetting Vancouver Whitecaps.
Played well.
This is what these ties are all about. And a lot of these Cavalry players, like Carducci, Camargo, the manager, Wielden Jr., like these guys have been there every step of the way. I speak about reference points, and they're absolutely there. And I think that winning the North Star Cup just has put this group in a completely different mindset. I just get the feeling that they feel that they have a real chance heading into Thursday.
They believe. Like, it's not even a feeling, Wheels. Like, it permeates. They believe that they can go and do this, which I, as a Canadian fan, think is fantastic, that they're one game away and they put themselves in the driver's seat to really make this dream come true. But to start this 2025 season, if they could get this win, this is already an iconic year. Like, they're putting themselves in a different trajectory and a different conversation now if they can get that result on Thursday.
Well, let's have some fun. Like, I'm a fun guy. Jordan's a fun guy. We like to have fun here. We can say this. What if they come away with a result and they advance to take on Alajuelense in the next round of this competition? What if they beat a Liga MX side and knock them out of this tournament.
I think people need to start talking about Cavalry a bit different. A lot of people put Tommy Wilden Jr. and company on the hot seat, where we've been talking about them for the past year and a half. If they go and beat Forge and win a North Star Cup and then go into the second round of Concacaf Champions Cup, you got to speak different about this Cavalry side. I think they can do it, though, Wheels. They just got to be a bit pragmatic about their game plan and how they go about things.
Everyone in this country is excited about the World Cup coming in 2026. For crying out loud, there was a 500 days to the World Cup. That's a long time, by the way. But there's little milestones that can trickle out and happen across the way, and it goes beyond our national teams. Like, this is what Canadian soccer is all about, community celebrating club success. And if Cavalry has this kind of success against a giant Mexican club in this competition, that for me is something that matters. That for me is a galvanizing factor that you can take forward, continuing to build momentum in this country ahead of hosting the World in about 17 months from now. Disappointing night for Forge. They fall 3-0, 5-0 on aggregate. They're out to the Concacaf Champions Cup, but Cavalry plays Thursday night, and we'll be back for that. On behalf of Jordan Wilson and everyone here at One Soccer, I'm Gareth Wheeler. Thanks for joining us.